All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 708 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. And as promised, I was going to finish the week talking about Georgia Southern. And we play Old Dominion. Old Dominion comes to Paulson, and, usually when we're at Paulson, we win. So hopefully the Georgia Southern Eagles are set out to handle business versus Old Dominion. I did not know. This kind of blindsided me, and I'm not gonna spend much time on this at all. It's kind of blindsided me. I didn't know that Coastal Carolina has been on like a 5-game win streak. They've won every game since we beat them. Very interesting. So they're technically at the top of the East. So we're gonna have to win out, and Coastal Carolina's gonna have to lose to James Madison. I wasn't paying attention to them, so I didn't know that. That's really interesting. But nevertheless, we only can handle what we can handle, and win number 7 should come against Old Dominion. So if this is your first time here, welcome. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts if you want to check out the podcast on that fashion. I really appreciate all the support. We are moving towards 1,500 subs on YouTube. Also on Rumble, we're doing pretty good numbers. I still haven't looked at the numbers on Rumble. I need to look at those before the night is over. Also on the podcast side, collectively on all the podcast avenues, we're doing like hundreds of listeners a day. I cannot thank you guys enough, and you guys are all awesome and amazing. I really appreciate that. I can also be found on X at VF Baller, and the website is firstandframerates.com. Also, if you want to support the show monetarily, CashApp and PayPal links are down below. I really would appreciate it. It helps bring more equipment and more good things to the show, basically. So hopefully you guys will be able to do that. If not, the fact that you're here, I really appreciate that. Georgia Southern, based on ESPN, has a 71% chance to beat Old Dominion. Now, last year we beat Old Dominion. I think it was like 28-23. It was a pretty solid win overall. We went to Old Dominion's house and basically stopped their pass rush because they had a really good defensive line last year. Looking at the way things are this year, I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. It's one of been our Achilles heels this year's offensive line after a great offensive line last year. Not to say that these guys aren't great or anything. They just took a step back. Hopefully we can get some protection in the next 2 to 3 games where we can actually keep Davis Brin upright to throw some passes. Even then, Davis Brin has been doing pretty good this year, passing for almost 3,000 yards this year, 21 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. We'd like to have those interceptions toned down. We also have to always remember that 5 of those interceptions was in one game, and so it is slightly a skewed stat. Jalen White is on pace to get another 100-yard, not 100-yard, but 1,000-yard season actually if he stays healthy, and he's looking really good so far with 817 yards. And Caleb Hood is on pace for a 1,000-yard season as well. And I think they're going to be able to put up big numbers against Old Dominion. Old Dominion has shown that they could put up some fight, but I think they're just going to be overmatched coming into Paulson, playing against Georgia Southern. You look at all the teams that came to Paulson so far this year, that's basically was the case. Every team that came to play against us this year has been pretty much overwhelmed. Even in some of the high-scoring affairs, it was just a situation where the team just could not really hold on to try to get a win in Paulson. The closest team that really got close to doing it was ULM, and we ended up closing the door on them with the pick 6. But nevertheless, I just don't know. You don't know what team's going to show up when it comes to Georgia Southern. I would like for this team to come in and just just show that they're going to take care of what they can take care of. It's just basically run the football effectively, get the passing game going, make sure the defense get a few stops, maybe a turnover or two, and we can walk away with probably like a 20 to 21, I'll say even a 24-point victory against the Old Dominion Monarchs. The Old Dominion, like I said, even back in the old days, I mean, Old Dominion always gave Georgia Southern somewhat of a fight. And I don't expect it to be anything different here, but it's just the fact that Old Dominion is slightly on a down year this year. And I think Georgia Southern playing at Paulson is going to be the much better team. Now, we felt this way about ULM, and look what happened. ULM almost came in and beat us. You know what I mean? They was trying to go on a game-winning drive, and then we shut the door on them at the last second. Now, on the flip side of that, you look at better teams like a UAB. We beat UAB here. We also beat Coastal Carolina here as well. So we are capable. We beat Georgia State. So we are capable of winning games at home handily. And like I said, I expect this game to be that type of game. And hopefully, you know, with the arm of Davis Brin and the defense of the Georgia Southern Eagles, we can hold that down and walk away with a victory and head on to Appalachian State. Now, what are my concerns? Obviously, the concerns is the arm of Davis Brin, not necessarily him throwing the ball. It's just him having time to throw the ball. Sometimes he gets a little fidgety back there, doesn't make the best decisions when he's thrown under pressure. And we see what happens sometimes in that situation. Sometimes they got really wild errant passes, sometimes not the best passes. And sometimes, in some cases, there'll be interceptions or almost interceptions. And last but not least, sometimes you have a situation where we just flat out fumble the ball on a strip sack or whatever the case may be. And we just want our team, our quarterback, and you know anybody who's handling the football is to take care of the football. That is the biggest concern going into this game, you know, because I know that the pressure is going to be there. I mean, there's no doubt. I don't think the Old Dominion is falling off that far is bringing pressure. And the way our offensive line stepped back from last year, there's going to be pressure. So that's one thing. So with the offensive line and the way that we can handle dropping back the pass is my biggest concern. Second is the defense. Can the defense, you know, basically not get gassed? Hopefully they don't be put in a situation where they're playing under pressure. Hopefully it'll be more of a situation where they can just stop what's going on in front of them instead of stopping the actual game, you know, or stopping from losing the game. You know, it's a total difference. Like when you look at a situation like when we played against Marshall, you know, we tried our best to stop that game from from us losing, and you saw what happened. Same thing with ULM. The defense did step up that time. But when you flip it and look at Georgia State, it wasn't even, you know, it wasn't the situation. The defense just played the best type of football they could. Everything was in front of them. They didn't have to worry about any pressure because they were like trying to hold on to a lead or anything. Kind of similar to Coastal Carolina, same thing. Didn't have to do much there. You know, same thing with Ball State. Didn't have to do much there. But you know, like I said, but then again, when you're in these closer games, I mean, just say, for instance, like a UAB when we was in the Marshall game. And even in some cases early on in the middle of the game of the Texas State game. I mean, that was a competitive game until the defense just could not stop these guys. And they had like 24 point swing, and we just couldn't do anything. We don't want our defense in those situations. So it's fairly simple when you look at what we have to do. You know, at the end of the day, we're just going to have to figure out a way to keep things in front of us and run our game. Also, one other thing we saw, what it was the last game, as a matter of fact, I think it was a kickoff. I think it was a kickoff return that was that was ran back. I think it was no, I'll take that back. Yeah, I think it was a kickoff return that was ran back for Marshall. I mean, it was just special teams was another problem for us, and I think that's something that we need to, you know, just basically just not let that happen. You know, I mean, that kickoff return that started the game kind of set the tone, even though it was still a close game all the way up until the last, like it was like the last 5-6 minutes of the game. You just don't want that to happen. You don't want any team to jump out in front of us. But I think at Paulson, I think we're going to be fine. I don't think that's going to really be the case. I think Georgia Southern is really going to do what they have to do to win this game. And it'll just put us at 7-4, and there's going to be a showdown. And to be honest, if you really let me look at this really quick, because this is going to be really interesting. Let me look at this Appalachian State team right here. And I'm not trying to not get too far ahead of myself. Appalachian State is going to have to play JMU at JMU. All right, okay, all right. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but I'm going to close with this. If everything lines up the way it's lining up, let me see. They're gonna probably end up losing to JMU. They lost to Coastal Carolina. Okay, nevertheless, since they already lost to Coastal, and they got to play JMU, and JMU has to play Coastal, I don't see James Madison losing another game. I mean, they got to play Appalachian State in Appalachian State, and App State is more than capable of doing so. I mean, it's not like they can't do it. Appalachian State is a very good team, but they're going up to JMU. I don't see it happening. And then JMU has to play Coastal Carolina. You know, they play Coastal Carolina at the end of the season. And let me see. They're playing at Coastal. That's going to be interesting because I don't know. Maybe Coastal can pull it off. I'm not sure. But I see James Madison beating both of these teams. Georgia Southern just have to win the rest of their games. Because even if you go into Appalachian State, you win that game after they lost to James Madison. James Madison is well deserved to be in the Sun Belt title, get a New Year's Six bowl. But I mean, the rules are rules. It is what it is. And, you know, it just gives the Georgia Southern Eagles more an incentive to go and make something happen. It's going to be tough, but it can happen. We can win both of these next two games. I mean, even with Appalachian State, it's kind of like on a down season. It's not like they're necessarily, you know, the top echelon team in the Sun Belt like they used to be. You know, at 6-4, they've had their ups and downs. So this is more of a reason why, you know, Georgia Southern really needs to win these next few games. You know, you look at the teams that they really beat. I mean, they beat, you know, Georgia State, they beat Marshall, they beat Southern Miss. But, you know, they won a close one against ULM. They lost to Wyoming. You know, I mean, they lost to Coastal Carolina at home. I mean, they lost to Old Dominion. So, I mean, they can be beat. So, it's just something to think about, not, you know, just looking a little bit forward ahead. Looking ahead, what Georgia Southern has to play for. They have something to play for here. So, they need to win these next two. So, it's going to be really, really interesting. But I'm going to get out of here. So if you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I am going to be live. I'm going to try to be live. More like that will be. I'm going to hang out with the family earlier that day. But I'm going to be live for this game. So if you want to come back and check out the show on the YouTubes, I will be live for the Old Dominion against Georgia Southern at 6 p.m. So come back over here and check it out. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble, also on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Twitter is or X at VFBaller. The website is firstandframeraise.com. Also, if you want to support the show, you know, you can support the show via CashApp or PayPal. Links are below. And I'm going to get out of here. So it's kind of laid out for us, y'all. It's kind of laid out for us for Georgia Southern. It's pretty easy. All right, y'all. I'll see you on the next one. Y'all take it easy and y'all be blessed. Peace.